A driver caught transporting 58 pupils in a 14-seater minibus in Limpopo has now been arrested. Now there are calls for Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga to provide safer scholar transport. From our Pretoria studios, Mokgatlhe, who speaks on behalf of the minister, joins me now to tell me about the department and their plans to address this problem. Hope, I believe that you saw that video, 58 children coming out of a minibus that's meant to transport 14 people. Tell me about your reaction as a department. Other than, it's for us as parents to be shocked. You are in a position where you can perhaps do something about it.
Good afternoon, Tula Sizwe. Indeed, I will use the same word. We were quite shocked. It was quite puzzling that a driver can get away with transporting so many learners to school on a public road and hope not to get caught. So the video went viral. We saw it. The minister saw it. The MEC of Limpopo saw it. And we cannot thank the law enforcement enough for acting before the worst could happen.
Hope, let me suggest to you, though, that this is not an exception to anything that happens daily on our roads, particularly in as far as private transport providers for pupils going to various schools, that you and I will know that this does happen. Yes, indeed it does happen. And what we say as a department is that it is mainly the responsibility of parents to take responsibility and find out what kind of transport their learners are using, what mode of transport they are using. So it's on parents as well. It's on schools as well. I mean, the schools should know when the learners get dropped off that they are overloaded. But in that particular video that you referred to, obviously that was a private arrangement between parents and the learners. You could see from the different uniforms that it was not a scholar transport that is subsidized by the department. But our stance is that learner safety is of utmost importance. We need to, as parents, make sure that we put our learners in a transport that we pay for, that is safe, that will get learners to school on time. Schools must also take responsibility for making sure that learners arrive on time and safely, and to inform the parents if there are if there are any rules that are broken there, because the safety of our learners comes first. But Hope, are you entirely helpless in this situation as a department, working perhaps in collaboration with the Department of Transport by way of regulating, these private transport providers? I know that you have your own scholar transport that you subsidize, but I mean, this is a feeder system into our schools. And I'm just wondering if you are entirely helpless and can only appeal to the sensibilities of parents and these private transport providers, and that's all you can do, nothing by way of legislation, regulation.
No, we are not helpless. As you put it correctly, we work with the Department of Transport both at national level and at provincial level, which means that there is some regulation that happens. There is an interdepartmental committee that meets quarterly that sits and discuss a lot of issues around scholar transport. One of them is obviously the issue of safety, and the other one is the regulation itself. What standards, what norms and standards are there for scholar transport? You will realize that the number of learners that need scholar transport differs from province to province. That is why we meet with the provinces as well, so that we see the numbers, the need, the regulation, and also just to ensure that it's standardized from province to province. We talk here about funding. How much does it cost government per learner per year? Those things are discussed at that quarterly meetings, and to answer your question, we are not helpless at all. It's an interdepartmental matter that is discussed quarterly, and it is one of the issues also that of private operators that are contracted by parents, between parents and the operators, which we can't regulate. But where the department gets involved is where we actually supply the transport and get those operators licensed and authorized.
Lastly, Hope, I mean, as you and I have been talking, we've been playing that video back on air, and I kid you not,
but it actually does look like something out of that popular show, Ripley's Believe It or Not. I mean, you simply cannot believe what you're seeing there. Lastly, Hope, a few days ago, at the start of the school year, your Director General sat next to me in this studio and we talked about the situation in the Northwest where the contract was found to have been unlawful and irregular for scholar transport. And there was assurance that the scholar transport would not be affected by this ruling. Well, a few days later, you're sitting with chaos in as far as the transportation of pupils in some parts of the Northwest. How do you explain that?
Look, the Director General was correct. The intentions were correct. And obviously, as a Director General, he was in contact with the province to ensure that that happens. I mean, that commotion with scholar transport there. But what we don't know is what happened between the instruction from the Director General and the province. And that is still ongoing. What is of concern, of course, is that learners are not getting to school on time the way they should. So this matter is very critical and it's very urgent, and the Director General is in touch with the province. So it should be resolved if it's not by now.
All right. Hope Mokgatlhe, thank you so much. Joining us from our Pretoria studios. She speaks on behalf of the Minister of Basic Education. That's Angie Motshekga.